Futures are pointing to a lower opening. Good morning. I'm Joe Doe, reporting from Wall Street this Tuesday morning, November 5th. Futures for the major U.S. equity markets were slipping as forecasts for the eurozone economy in 2014 dampened, triggering investors to believe the European Central Bank may need to implement another interest rate cut. Turning to earnings, shares of Regeneron Pharmaceuticals were rising more than 5% in pre-market action. In the newsroom for the latest is Nicole Erkin. Nicole, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Regeneron is up this morning after reporting a very strong quarter. Amazingly, this is now a $28 billion market cap company, one of the biotech growth stories that we've continued to highlight. Earnings beat by 54 cents, and they raised their EYLEA sales guidance, and this is a product for age-related vision issues. So this has been a very strong stock, in contrast to Immunogen, which is off big today after discontinuing one of its pipeline candidates. So a lot of movement in the biotech space.
So moving from biotech, what about Michael Kors? It sounds like they had a pretty good quarter, at least on luxury items.
Yeah, Michael Kors is a name that continues to be hot for investors. It's been beating the stocks out of Coach, symbol COH. Comps came in at ahead of estimates. I think it came in at 25%, which was ahead of 20% estimates. I'm just trying to confirm 23%. So very strong here. Right. The stock not moving much. Expectations were high, but continues to remain well positioned into holiday season.
All right, Nicole Erkin in the newsroom. As always, thank you so much.
Thanks.
With me in the studio today is Frank Trotter. He's the president of EverBank Direct. Frank, thank you so much for being with us.
It's great to be here.
So Frank, turning back to Europe for a moment, we've here in the studio been talking Europe all week. And so when investors are looking to Europe now, I mean, they're hearing both sides of the story, a little bit of growth, but at the same time, it's not robust. What kind of homework do investors need to do if they want to go into that space?
Well, I think there's a couple of different things. The European Central Bank's done a great job of talking about easing more than actually easing. You mentioned in the lead-in that perhaps they're going to lower rates later this week. At this point, we don't think they will. It's still a possibility. But with the euro strengthening over the last month or so, 135 and change, high of 137, they may be feeling a little bit strong. They'd like to boost those exports, and so watch those export numbers versus the price of the euro.
So the U.S. economist for Goldman came out and said that his prediction, his forecast is that the Federal Reserve is actually going to lower its unemployment threshold from the 6.5% possibly down to 6%. How does Europe react to this? We know how we do.
Well, I don't think they're going to get as much into the competitive devaluation game as perhaps we think they would. The exports from Germany, some of the other European countries remain relatively strong, some to the southern European, but of course out externally as well. Lowering the threshold, I think, is interesting because in September everybody thought, well, gee, they're going to taper, but they were pretty clear: 6.5%, 2% inflation before we really begin. And Bullard, of course, came out yesterday and said, maybe not right now. I think the way that they should play that out is the European Central Bank will probably follow the U.S. down a little bit if we begin to taper, or they will stay on strongly until the unemployment rate drops, as the U.S. Fed now seems to be looking at.
All right, Frank Trotter, as always, great to have you in from St. Louis in the studio here in New York. Hope to have you back.
We'll be here.
That's what's happening today on Wall Street. For The Street, I'm Joe Doe.